Well, welcome back to My Workspace is Dirtier Than Yours. Hey guys, so yeah man, this morning I posted a couple of vids really just talking about guitar projects and parts, and particularly this one. So as you can tell, I have received the second Demusea Telecaster. This is the one for my grandson who wanted the blue one. So, hey, FYI, did you know that if you mix candy corn and peanuts, you basically get a payday bar? I just thought I'd share that with you. Wonderful snack. Diet Coke makes everything work out better. So, in one of the videos, I mentioned a trick that really J-Man taught me. And that was when you do shielding, one of the things that you have to think about is how are you going to connect the cavities once the neck and the bridge pickup cavity are coppered. How are you going to get connectivity between these cavities and over to the control plate? Now, we don't shield the control plate cavity. I learned that the hard way. Nothing wrong with doing that, but it is a waste of tape. So we won't be doing that. So I saw one time J-Man said, man, if you take the tape and an Allen wrench and you put it through the cavity holes, then you can affix it to the guitar and life is good. So what I started doing is I started just to make a very thin strip of copper tape. And I'm going to put it through, and I didn't, probably should have put my screwdriver through here a couple of times just to make sure that everything was copacetic, but I did not do that. And so you'll see that I did not take the tape off of the paper. I have the paper intact because one of the things that I'm always interested in is making sure that I don't break the tape, and that when I put the wires in, sometimes, you know, man, those wires can be pretty pesky. And so I want the tape to be on the top of the hole, not the bottom. Okay? So what I do is I put everything through there. I'm going to put my screwdriver in here to make sure that that this is affixing, and it's actually not going to affix inside the tunnel. It's just going to affix on the ends, if that makes any sense at all. So what's interesting about it is you kind of have to finagle it a little bit. Finagle it is the technical term. So I'm going to do my best to do this in real time with you. How's your day going, man? Well, it's Saturday for me. I don't know what day it is when you'll be watching this, or what night it'll be, or what life will be like. But, you know, this is Ted Talks Guitars and Life. So yeah, man, life for me on Saturday afternoons is pretty laid back. College football, if I can do that kind of thing, and hopefully there's a guitar to work on or two laying around the shop. And since this one came in, man, it's all to the good. Now this tape is kind of wild sometimes, so you just have to be, here's a word, patient. And I sometimes struggle with patience. Now I have burned this more times in previous attempts than I care to admit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the paper off of the tape portion, and then I'm going to attempt to pull this back through. And that's why I started leaving it affixed, because getting tape to pull through without tearing that tape became, well, I'm going to call it problematic. Okay, so what I've done is I've affixed that then to the inside of the control cavity. All right. Now, I'm going to come over on the other side, and I'm just going to come back on this other side, and I'm going to attempt to get this unaffixed from the paper portion of the tape a little bit. So copper shielding tape. So back in the old days, man, there would be, have you ever opened a Telecaster and you've seen like a ground wire from the bridge cavity over to the control panel? So that's what we're emulating in a way. So copper tape is the same thing as a wire. So this is just kind of a, you could do this with wire. You could put your copper tape inside the cavity of the body, and then if you wanted to, man, you could actually run like a wire, leave the ends of the wire open. Now again, I'm going to do my best to kind of pull this tight, and going to try to hold that with the finger, get in here and cut it with the finger and breathe at the same time. All right. Now I'm going to affix this to the inside of the cavity. Okay? So we have connected these two cavities together. Now I'm going to pull my screwdriver out very gently. Now we're going to tackle the bridge control cavity to the actual control panel cavity by doing basically the same procedure. And I had a little piece of tape pre-cut. Oh, here it is. So again, it's just a strip. I'm going to put it in with the copper side facing down, because what I want to do is I want the tape to kind of be snug up against the top of the tunnel, as it were, so that when I shove wire through there, the wire doesn't catch on it. Sometimes the other thing I do is I kind of bend it a little bit to give it a little bit of a roundness to it. And again, man, did I mention patience? This is one of those things, man. So okay, so I'm through on both sides, so you can kind of see that. And now what I'm going to do is same process. I'm going to take the tape portion off the paper portion, and I'm just going to affix it inside the cavity. Now I'm not really worried about where yet, okay? And I'll tell you why in a minute. So let me do that. So I'm going to take this copper tape off of the paper portion. Matt, did I mention that if you mix candy corn and peanuts, you basically get a payday bar? Fabulous snack, man. I just had a handful of that on the way in. I got a little bit of a blood sugar issue, and so from time to time, man, I've got to have some sugar. So I'm going to fix this right here, okay? Now, a mistake that I've made, I don't know, well, let's just say a few times, is to have too much tape on the edges. And I just don't like to be able to come in and see copper when I'm looking down at a control plate. So hopefully that won't stick out too much from the control plate. Yeah. So one thing I'll just share with you while we're talking about the control plate cavity, electronics cavity here of this particular guitar. So I have my control panel that is in process. So you'll see that I've mounted the switch. You'll see that I've mounted the pots, and I didn't have to bore those holes out, man. That was fantastic. And of course I scratched the control plate because, well, that's what Poppy does. My grandson won't think anything of it. But I did not have to bore out the bottom of this. Everything fits beautifully. If you watched the video this morning, Two-Bike Mike and I were talking about it, and one of the things you need to be aware of, man, is that sometimes this pot is too wide for this narrow lane right here. And so oftentimes, if that's the case, either you stick with the small pots or you have to get some kind of Dremel or whatever tool that you would use to widen this a bit. And I've mentioned in past videos that one of the things that I've had to do quite a few times is I've had to actually Dremel the bottom of this control plate cavity out just a tad. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to try to, again, take off some of this paper from the tape itself. And so we're going to do that by coming over here and doing our very best to carefully and patiently separate the tape from the paper. You know, I've really hesitated making this video primarily because this is a slow and laborious process. You know, man, a guy can only mention candy corn and peanuts so many times. But I'm telling you, dude, if you haven't tried that fun little snack, you know, man, candy corn is only available around fall. I didn't know that. It's like a seasonal delicacy, I guess. Okay, so now I'm going to affix this, just the top of this tab, because I believe I mentioned that several times now I have ended up with way too much tape. And even though the bridge plate should have covered it, and that's probably even going to stick out a little bit. Okay? So now, in theory now, if I connected the two strips here, now I am not in any way thinking I'm going to make or attempt to encourage any of you to watch me do much more of this, okay? But I did think it might be good for me just to get these two connected, check for tone, and then we'll see kind of where we are, okay? Right. I don't know if you've ever worked with this stuff before, but I've only done this. I think this is my, it feels like my third attempt, maybe? Something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and rip this off so that you can see what happens when you rip it off. When you rip it off, it goes to curl up on you. But you can uncurl it, and again, it's malleable, man. You can, yeah, you could basically smooth it out, and really, man, getting it right above the holes where the wire's going to come through. Okay, so what this accomplishes is, and you'll see that I'm really pressing on this because what I'm trying to do is get connectivity to this strip that went through this cavity and this strip that came through this cavity. Okay, so let me go ahead and just do what I would do at this point, and that is check for tone. So I've got my meter, and I'm going to set my meter down to where the little speaker thing is, and I'm going to see, are these two cavities connected? All right, you hear the tone, right? Then I'm going to come over here to this one, and then I can come over here to this one. Okay, so those little strips of copper is simulating a wire connection. And so now what I'm going to do is, now that I've got them connected, what I'll do next in the pickup cavities, again, not the control panel cavity, is that I'm going to go in and shield those cavities. And yeah, man, I'll be back with kind of a finished product of what the shielding looks like and move on to other things. All right, man. Hey, wherever you are in your guitar journey, man, rock on with your bad selves. I hope this is helpful. If it is helpful, man, like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments how you do this. How do you connect cavities when you're doing some shielding on a guitar? All right, man. Catch you down the road. Okay, welcome back. Copper shielding is complete in both the neck pickup cavity, bridge pickup cavity. This again is my connectivity to the cavities. I'll do a little tone. Again, I'm setting this to a speaker icon there. Yeah, it should have tone. Let's see. Yep. There you go. Rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to create a box around this neck pickup hole so that when it goes down, it makes a little bit of a connectivity here. Okay, now one thing that I did notice, man, about the second time I did this on these big pole Artec pickups, it does not like copper shielding being anywhere close to it. So when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave about a 5 to 10 millimeter gap between the hole where that pickup goes, and then I'm just going to create a little box here. Okay, well, there you go. That's the plan. That's what's up next. Stand by. Okay, well, we've got a shielded body, and we've got a shielded back of the pickup. And I know 2-back mic a little bit too crazy down here at the bottom, but man, nothing's perfect. Perfection isn't the goal, I don't guess. But by the first time I did this, I think that video is still live on my channel. The whole back of I did the whole thing, man. And I did the whole cavity of the control plate, and it was just, and I had all copper all the way down to these screws, and really from here to here, it was ugly, man. So yeah, I feel better about this and really good about those cavities. I think that looks pretty good, man.